Let me say right off the bat that I'm not all that happy with this painting, and the reason is I started painting it without a clear idea of what I wanted to achieve. I was given this beautiful amaryllis as a present in return for something I did for somebody, and I decided immediately I wanted to do a painting of it. I needed some reference photos, so I set it up in my little painting area and tried to photograph it. But it was not at all easy. I ended up taking various shots and putting them together in Photoshop to get something I was happy with. But I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do with the painting. I was thinking about it for weeks. Should I do a background? Do it against white? If I was to do a background, should I mask the flower or not? I used to mask a lot of my watercolor paintings, but I haven't done that for a while, so I decided to try without. It was a failure. Especially the green stalks, which ended up really bad, and I just ended up throwing red paint at it in a fit of frustration. So I started again, with a mask, but still no real plan. Let's see how that worked out, shall we? So I wet most of the board, but not all of it, and that's me dropping in Payne's blue-grey, a very dark mixture of that with a pipette. And spreading that background obviously with the spray bottle and making sure the paint was in all the little nooks and crannies. A little bit more paint, and you see the dried version. I ended up throwing a bit of salt at it, again because I didn't have a plan, and I'm not convinced that works, but that's what I ended up with. So working on the flower, or the flowers, a thin wash of Perylene Scarlett, being very careful to stick within the masked area as best I can. It's actually very difficult to do, but with a little bit of patience, taking it slowly. Even though it looks like I'm working quickly here, I wasn't. That's me just lifting some of the paint up to get back some of the highlights. And with a mixture of thin washes and then damp brush, damp paper, lifting some of the colour to get the highlights back. So a stronger mixture of the Perylene Scarlett, and just concentrating on one petal at a time, sometimes letting the colours run into each other. And letting that one flower on the right there dry before doing any more work on it. I'm thinking that the main light source, or there are several light sources in the reference material, but the main light source I'm assuming is the light's coming from the right, so I'm leaving small high lit edges on the right hand side of the petals. And a combination of adding paint and then lifting paint as I go while it's still damp. Just addressing each area of the plant in turn. lot of precision work, quite a contrast from the paintings I've been producing with a basting brush. I'm not sure this is of any interest to you watching me paint, so it's fairly repetitive. Feel free to skip forward. Again, trying to define the different petals within the flower by painting them at different times. They are actually a very complicated shape, these flowers, so it's not at all easy looking at the photograph and working out what's what. So we skipped forward quite a bit there. So, save you having to do it. Trying to make that particular petal, well, all the petals have a sort of slightly ridged surface to them, which don't necessarily appear depending on the lighting, but there's quite clearly a slightly ridged effect on that particular petal. Just finishing off that petal with water to create a lighter leading edge, and as you can see, picking up the paint. And then the petal below it, darkest where it meets the petal above, to create some contrast. Using the blow dryer there, due to impatience. Everything so far on the flowers has been with just the straight Perylene Scarlett, but now I'm starting to add a little bit of the Undersea greening to get even darker tones. Same with there, just adding quite dark paint to an area and then blending it with the rest of the colour, just using water. Getting quite dark tones still with a combination of the Perylene Scarlett and the Undersea green. Just working on the shadows that the petals cast onto each other. Just adding tiny bits of water to the edges to create a soft transition. And again just using water to blend into the existing colours. You can see I've worked quite hard on the dark areas, building up the dark centres to create some contrast. And then I'm just glazing over some areas with Quinacridone Magenta, which gives a more pinkish hue to the existing red. Creates a little bit more warmth. Spreading it about quite liberally so that maintain a balance across the whole range of reds. Just warming up those reds so that slightly more pink. And then I'm using a small bristle brush to lift the paint again, just to create some soft highlights. And now using a colour which having bought it, I thought I would never ever use it. But it turned out to be perfect for these, the luminosity in these stalks that I wanted to achieve. And being careful to paint within the lines, the way we learnt when we were 5. Giving the whole stalk area base colour of the green, running up into the younger flowers and the buds there that have not yet broken out into bloom. And then creating a little bit of detail with the red, and that's the same green with a little bit of the Perylene red in it, Perylene Scarlett, a broadish band down the middle, and just using water to blend it left and right because of the lighting setup that I had when taking the photographs. The stalks were getting lit both from the left and from the right. Trying to maintain the feel of translucency in those stalks. Those small leaves are not quite as transparent, so they're getting a bit more colour. Same approach there, darker version of the green down the middle of the stalk, and then just letting it bleed left and right with the help of some water. And there I've focused more on the two small leaves in between the stalks, giving them some more detail. And now onto the wrapping paper. I'm using the same combination of reds. In real life the wrapping paper is a warmer red than the flowers, but for the sake of the painting I'm sticking with the same range of reds. Doing something like this crinkled paper is actually something of a challenge. As you can see, I've also quickly drawn in a ribbon around the pot and masked that off. The paper is also translucent, so just trying to catch the feel of a very, very thin paper. And again with the slightly warmer Quinacridone, Magenta. So I've painted the ribbon, and now just filling in the detail of the moss. And then just a general wash in that area of the Payne's blue-grey, just to create even more contrast and feeling of shade. And again, just trying to pick out slightly irregular shapes. Anyway, there it is. Failure? Not a failure? I don't know. I'm unsure. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. If you got this far, it was quite a long video. As I say, let me know what you think. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Bye.